covering the islands of the Bahamas. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. Topping the news this evening, the Christie administration presented the 2012-2013 budget to Parliament today, promising to set the country on a course for change amidst high government debt, a huge infrastructural bill, and no new taxes. Vowing to expand the private sector and tighten the country's purse strings, Prime Minister the Right Honourable Perry Christie told Parliament that all of his government's policies will make for a stronger fiscal position going forward. Clint Watson has this angle of the story.
The good news is there are no new taxes at this time, but with the government's debt at $4.6 billion, or 54.5% of GDP, forecasted by the end of this fiscal year, the debt servicing will be $328 million. Prime Minister Christie says with this level of debt, there will be a need to heighten and manage resources. Moving into the new fiscal year, the government is confronted with a large capital works expenditure. It estimates that by the time these projects are completed, the price tag will be around $400 million, significantly higher than projected by the previous government. The government accepts that the country's debt must be constrained in short term and reduced, so it plans to implement a modern debt strategy. A special finance committee of experts will address this issue. A white paper is also being prepared on proposed tax reform systems. It will be tabled in the House.
My government will proceed with the plans for the creation of a new centralized tax administration to consolidate revenue collections and maximize the effectiveness and efficiency of tax administration on the basis of international best practice.
As for increasing revenue, the government will look to plug existing loopholes.
It is estimated that with administrative improvements alone, annual property tax revenues could be increased by almost 100% over the next 5 years. The government will pursue a comprehensive multi-year strategy and implementation plan to reform and modernize the real property tax system. An international expert has been engaged to help guide this process.
Prime Minister Christie says with no room to maneuver, they're still implementing policies to stabilize the country.
In light, however, of the fiscal reality that we face, we are holding the line on recurrent expenditure in 2012-2013 to the maximum extent possible. Recurrent expenditure in the coming fiscal year is projected at $1.821 million. That is an increase of $114 million, fully $55 million of which is allocated to the increased requirements for debt redemption in the coming period.
As an incentive to boost Grand Bahama's economy, the hotel occupancy tax is being reduced by 50% for 5 years for existing properties and for 10 years for new properties filing returns under the new electronic reporting system. There's also an extension of duty-free concessions to East and West Grand Bahama. The government also plans to implement a number of stimulus packages in real estate and hopes to reduce tariffs on a number of goods. There's also a focused mandate on BIC and the Development Bank. The government remains committed in its focus in ensuring that the Bahamas becomes more safer and definitely more prosperous for Bahamians and those that live here. They recognize that there are obstacles ahead of them, but the Prime Minister says he's committed to ensuring that they don't fail, but they succeed in their mandate. At the House of Assembly, Clint Watson, ZNS News.
Mr. Christie also revealed that to assist with financing existing commitments, the government will be required to borrow.
I'm going to give notice at the end of the debate on the speech from the throne, which would be Thursday. I'm going to give notice of a resolution to borrow $504 million to cover the deficit that I announced.
Are you borrowing this from the Chinese?
No, I'm going to rely on the Minister of State for Finance to lead that, but the answer is no.
Now, following the budget communication, the government met with reporters to address questions regarding the presentation. Prime Minister Christie reaffirmed his commitment to reviewing the sale of BTC.
Has not changed its position, and therefore we have not retreated from it, and we're going to move forward on it, and therefore we have to take what I said as a literal understanding that we intend to, at the earliest convenience, to initiate discussions with the ownership of the majority shares in BTC with a view to the ultimate objective, recovering what would
Prime Minister
be really enable us to have the majority interest on behalf of the Bahamian people.
The 2012-2013 budget outlines the government's plans to address crime by putting in place a number of social programs which address and improve long-standing challenges which have plagued inner-city communities for decades. Prime Minister Christie says a side benefit will be boosting employment numbers. Shanique Miller explains.
It was a central focus on the government's campaign, fighting crime and creating a safe Bahamas, and the programs that will bring this about. This morning, Prime Minister Christie set the course to building a safer Bahamas. In the face of 59 murders already on record this year, he described how the government will achieve that in the 2012-2013 fiscal year.
As a first step, we are immediately, when I say immediately, I mean immediately, following up on our commitment to reinstate and reinvigorate the urban renewal program to foster a beneficial and effective relationship between the police and the community.
Perhaps the most noticeable difference in Urban Renewal 2.0 is the $15 million allocated to making tangible changes in communities that are criminally challenged. Mr. Christie talked about how this money will make a difference.
For the implementation of early initiatives in the Charter for governance. Implementation such as the introduction of Urban Renewal 2.0, including the immediate implementation of house repairs and community improvements, both of which will create employment. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, the restoration of fiscal discipline is absolutely necessary if government is to fully implement its agenda for change and play its rightful role in promoting private sector development, new sustainable job opportunities, and higher standards of living.
Now, to shore up the fight on crime from a legislative and policy standpoint, Christie announced several amendments that will come. Amendments to the Police Act, the creation of a National Intelligence Agency, the development of a National Firearms Control Strategy, the reintroduction of the Swift Justice Initiative, the reintroduction of the Witness Protection Program, amendments to the Rehabilitation of the Offenders Act, and the reintroduction of school-based policing. There are other changes on tap, too.
The revitalization of the tourism-based police initiative, and the re-equipment and repositioning of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force to more effectively control our borders.
Finally, the Bahamian people get to decide whether to legalize gambling through a national lottery by way of a referendum.
It is estimated that this area holds the potential to make a significant financial contribution in support of government expenditures on the nation's economic and social priorities in the years ahead.
Shanique Miller, ZNS News.
One of the main goals outlined in the government's 100-day plan of action is to revive the economy of Grand Bahama, starting with the establishment of a ministry to meet the needs of the island. One of the plans is to reduce taxes on the island by 50%. LaDawn Davis explains.
It's really no secret that the economy of Grand Bahama has faced a devastating blow since the economic recession. This is evident with a staggering unemployment rate that stands at some 22.2% and hundreds of hotel room foreclosures. But it seems some help is now on the way. 2 years ago, the former government increased hotel occupancy taxes from 6 to 10%, and now to sustain small and medium-sized hotels, taxes will be decreased by 50% for all properties and 50% for new hotels, but for 10 years after opening. Minister of Tourism Obi Wilscombe says this idea is just one way to make costs a little more attractive to boost the tourism product in Grand Bahama and to decrease the hefty costs to hotel owners.
And also cause for more hotels to be built, because Grand Bahama right now just got a little bit over 2,000 hotel rooms. If you're going to cause the economy to expand and cause job opportunities to be increased, you've got to increase the number of hotel rooms in Grand Bahama.
With some $85 million allocated for the Ministry of Tourism's budget this year, Minister of Tourism Obi Wilscombe says one of his ministry's top priorities is to increase airlift arrivals from Latin America.
We're also focusing on Latin America and putting a new team in Latin America to ensure that we can get some more business in Latin America. We've been focusing on some of the countries, but I want Brazil, I want Colombia, I want Argentina, all the countries where the economies are getting stronger. So our program is going to be very wide. We're putting dynamic teams in place. We're putting new marketing strategies in place to be able to see immediate reaction.
Mr. Wilscombe says while this decrease will create an incentive to the visitor account, it will not have a major impact on major hotels in the capital and the Family Islands.
I don't think there's going to be an impact at all because these hotels are sustaining themselves. But what we have is a diversity in this market. What New Providence has been able to offer is a high-end and continues to offer high-end. There's mid-range, very small number of mid-range, but in Grand Bahama they're absolutely low right now.
President of the Bahamas Hotel Association, Stuart Bowe, says he is all for the decrease as every consumer is price conscious. He says it will not only influence but attract more visitors to Grand Bahama. Meantime, Minister Wilscombe says he will outline all of his plans for the country's #1 industry during the budget debate in the next 10 days. LaDawn Davis, ZNS News.
Well, during the budget communication, Prime Minister Christie also addressed the proposed mortgage relief plan touted during the election campaign. We get that story from Janaea Noel Ferguson.
Despite being faced with financial constraints for this fiscal year, Prime Minister Perry Christie says the government is still forging ahead with its mortgage relief program. However, certain conditions will apply.
We therefore reaffirm our commitment to a mortgage relief program that will help save the homes of those persons who, by reason of involuntary job losses, underemployment, or chronic illness, are no longer able to service their mortgage loan obligations as they were previously doing.
During the election campaign, the Progressive Liberal Party formulated a mortgage relief plan, but it was unclear exactly how the program would work. Mr. Christie clarified the intentions of the program and noted that discussions with banks on the matter continue.
The program was never intended to assist homeowners who have the means to pay their mortgage obligations, but simply decided not to do so. We therefore strongly urge all homeowners who have the means to do so to continue to meet their mortgage loan obligations.
Prime Minister Christie also revealed that conveyances over $250,000 will be decreased from 12% to 10%. As first-time homeowners already benefit from exemption of stamp duty, Mr. Christie says this system also stands to be revamped, but there's more.
We are introducing again a cap of $50,000 as the maximum real property tax payable on an owner-occupied residence as a means of further stimulating the construction sector.
Additionally, the Prime Minister said that a bill for the regulation of a pension fund is also being drafted. It will ensure that employees have access to their pensions in the event of an emergency, with mortgage relief included. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
Immediately following the budget presentation, the opposition Free National Movement held a press conference. Opposition members chided the government on what it calls a lame effort of a budget and no insight to lead the country forward. Carla Palmer has that.
Lame, blame, and much of the same is how opposition leader, the Honorable Dr. Hewitt Minnis, is describing the Progressive Liberal Party's 2012 budget.
Having promised the world to the people of the Bahamas, and having campaigned on the message that the FNM was borrowing too much, the Progressive Liberal Party has presented to Parliament a budget that makes a lame and feeble attempt at delivering a first deposit on its wild promises. It hardly has any offerings in the budget that presents the new and innovative initiatives it promised the Bahamian people.
The opposition leader wasted no time and accused the government of reneging on its promise to the Bahamian people of no new taxes.
If you look at the speech from the throne, they're already indirectly imposing new taxes. He said that with their mortgage program, they would introduce a 0.5%, less than 1%. He called it levy, tax on mortgage payers, you and I who are paying. That's a tax. He also said that he's going to bring in national health insurance. If you remember the act that he had brought forth, that talks about a 5% levy or tax. So all in all, he's already, in less than 1 day, imposing almost 6% tax on the Bahamian public.
Dr. Minnis says the Free National Movement stands firm on its record of transparency and accountability. Faced by drastic global economic circumstances, he maintains the FNM did the best it could. He said the FNM did not leave a deficit as high as is being reported.
The Prime Minister and those that done, they inflated that deficit in that monies that would be used for programs to be completed the following year. What the Prime Minister has done is included those monies in this budget, and therefore it's an inflation of the deficit. Rather than the 300 odd, he comes up with his $500 million.
According to Dr. Minnis, unlike the FNM, the PLP government is showing no courage to reduce the large deficit by either taking the appropriate revenue measures or expenditure adjustments. Still, he says the government can fall back on the many programs left in place by the FNM to move ahead.
Thank goodness that we left in place fiscal measures, including the Debt Management Committee, the program to initiate the Tax Administration Department, and the Real Property Tax Reform Program to give them some semblance of direction in these difficult circumstances.
Having said all of that, opposition members say they won't allow the government to bankrupt the country, saying they will be watching very, very closely. Carla Palmer, ZNS News.
Now this afternoon, parliamentarians began debate on a resolution thanking the Governor General for this speech from the throne. It's a traditional occurrence following the opening of Parliament in which a speech from the Governor General presents details of the government's plan for the legislative period. The last speech spoke to remedying crime and improving the economy. The Bahamas Electricity Corporation had emergency crews out very early this morning after an incident in eastern New Providence caused an island-wide blackout. We're told that 2 men were injured while working near the Burger King building on Prince Charles Drive. Management of Roberts Furniture confirmed that the men were their employees. The company owns the Burger King building where the men were working. Up to news time, the men were said to be in stable condition in hospital. Now, the incident caused a complete shutdown of BEC's system at the Blue Hills and Clifton Pier plants. BEC told ZNS News that normally in these cases, there's a localized protection system. However, this protection system didn't work and caused BEC's units throughout the island to shut down.
Protective device that they have on the system that should have localized the impact. Unfortunately, that malfunctioned. We're talking about machines, we're talking about devices. As much as possible, we try to ensure that they are maintained and that there's no problem on our system. But sometimes these things happen. It's very unfortunate, and what we're grateful for is that the 2 men who were injured, that they still have their lives at this point.
Now, while the corporation was ensuring full restoration by lunchtime today, Ingram says that there may be pockets of communities not completely restored. Those customers are asked to call BEC on the emergency lines 323-5561-4. Mrs. Ingram added that this island-wide blackout is an unusual incident and not an everyday occurrence.
5:03 a.m. I believe that we got the first customers back online, and it was a gradual process until probably around noon today. We still had a very small number of customers, maybe less than 5% that were without supply, but at this point we have total restoration island-wide.
Well, still to come in the Bahamas tonight, where there's smoke, there's fire. Find out where coming up.